Welcome to True North, the podcast where we talk about meaningful things and about life and direction. So, here with us today, Yasodhara. Let me introduce myself first. I'm Ramith. I'm Ramith life coach. I'm a life coach. I do trainings and I help people to find their purpose and fulfill and meaningful life. Can you explain a little bit about yourself?
Always a difficult question.
Yeah.
I do a bunch of things. I am also a life coach for a very long time. I am also the founder of Sri Lanka's first modern school, independent collective school. I am a children's author. I actually have a grown-up book coming out too. I am an artist, a designer. As my kids say, there's nothing that Amma doesn't do. So I do a bunch of things, and every few years I kind of explore new areas. And because I'm always learning, I'm always changing and developing. So this is who I am today. It might change in 5 years.
That's amazing. And I have been following you in social medias and seen a lot of interesting videos about how you go through life and the interesting things that you do with your family and things you learn. It's very interesting. So that's why I wanted
Thank
to reach out and ask for you to come on my podcast and talk about whatever that you are passionate about, education and mental health. So this month I'm focused on Mental Health Awareness Month because it's May. So
Yeah,
I would love to hear your thoughts on education and mental health and things you are passionate about, or yeah, whatever comes to your mind.
thank you. I think the two things, unfortunately, through history, particularly through schooling, we've separated education and mental health. Um, Structurally, if you look at mainstream schools, the mental health element has been completely removed. One, there aren't any structures or systems in place to safeguard children's mental health or to develop children's mental health. But also there is very little education, little to no education for children of their own mental health, right? So it's two pronged approach, and both are missing from the mainstream sector. But when we think about what education really is, it is the development of a young person through to adulthood, to furnish them with the skills, the knowledge, the qualifications that they require to make the best out of the adult life. That's what we hope education is, right? So, within that, our physical and mental health are absolutely key, because without good physical or mental health, what kind of successful future can anyone hope to have, right? So, safeguarding children's mental health within a school environment through childhood is absolutely paramount to this, but also educating them on what is mental health and how they can be empowered, and that they can be empowered and safeguard their own mental health and their own journey is, I don't know, I think it's just like one of the most vital things, and it's been missing from this whole system.
Mental health is frowned upon, or there's a stigma. They don't talk about it, and even I think recently some schools has introduced mental health and psychology, but in government schools they don't even talk about it, and there's a big misunderstanding about mental health.
But it has to be, it's not, mental health is not something to teach as a subject, or make it a theoretical thing. It's something that should be part of our day to day life, right? Like,
Yeah,
you don't teach children, like, you don't sit them down in a class and teach them to brush their teeth.
yeah.
You just say this is how you brush your teeth, right? And I think the same needs to happen for mental health and physical health both, because
Mm.
it's not something to teach anyone theoretically. It's something that has to be inculcated in how you run your everyday, how you deal with things every day, and those conversations should be normalized. And I don't know, I think there's a lot of work to be done.
Yeah, there are a lot of work to be done, and yeah, like you said, mental health and physical health, overall health is very important. But
Very important.
yeah, so
It's at my school, when new parents come to interview, one of the things that I always tell them is there is no point in investing energy, time, money, effort, all of these things in your child's education if your child's physical and mental health is not okay. Because we are seeing, particularly from the physical health, even though we're talking today about mental health, if we look at the physical health side, we are looking at 40-year-olds, 45-year-olds dying quite frequently in Sri Lanka, right? We have something like 40% of our population has diabetes. And I don't know the numbers for heart health, but I know they're
Mm,
poor.
yeah.
And those conditions don't just pop up when you're an adult, they're built in childhood, right? And the same for, we hardly ever have any proper statistics for mental health issues, but we're seeing anxiety, addiction. Oh my god, childhood addiction these days with gaming, screens, food, all of these things, right? We have to take a lot of responsibility when we're bringing up a child to make sure that their physical and mental health is good. And it needs to be above education, because what I see in Sri Lanka with Sri Lankan parents is that education is above everything else
Mm,
at the cost of physical and mental health. But what is the point of education if that child is going to be either dead, for want of a better word, or mentally or physically ill
mm,
as soon as they arrive in their adult years, right? I am seeing so many. I mean, I'm turning 42 this year. I'm seeing so many people who are my age just dying, or experiencing chronic illnesses, particularly from the sort of heart disease and diabetes space, but also with mental health. And we as parents, we have to be really, really proactive to make sure that what we're feeding our children is okay, what we are giving them to consume in terms of content, whether it's YouTube or movies or TV or music videos, that's a whole
mm.
other thing, gaming. Have to make sure that we are responsible for, are they drinking milk packets every day where it's 40% sugar? you know
Yeah.
also also something we never talk about is how diet is intrinsically linked to mental health,
Yeah.
right? When you're flooding your body with sugar all day, it has a huge impact on how your brain works, right? And then that also has a huge impact on your mental health. So all of these things, like as parents, as educators, as schools, as adults, whatever, we have to take that responsibility to make sure that our children are coming into adult age as healthy as possible and make it more of a priority than anything else.
That's true. And I think mental health and physical health are intertwined. Like if you have a good mental health, it affects on your physical health, and if you have physical health, it affects on your mental health as well. So those things are very important to maintain. And like you said, the food we eat, they say the second brain is in our stomach, so our
It
nervous
is.
system. Yeah. So it's better. It's these things are need to be addressed and need to be shared with the community and everything. Yeah.
Actually, let me see if I can find it on my phone right now. Um, I've There's a research done recently. Um, okay, so this is a. I just want to read it to you. I hope that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
Uh, Recently, this massive German research team, and they have done this huge piece of research, has discovered that poor mental health is now linked to. So earlier, how we approached mental health was more like a conceptual thing,
Mm,
right? We didn't really link it to our physical, that there were physically something off with us, right? But what they have done in this groundbreaking research is they have actually linked mental health disorders to neuroinflammation. So that is inflammation in your brain, right? And what they discovered here, I'll read it directly to you.
yeah.
What ignites the neuroinflammation? The German team identified a convergent set of upstream triggers: gut dysbiosis, early life adversity, chronic sleep disruption, obesity, viral infections, particularly the herpes virus, air pollution. And then it goes into some other things about omega 3 fatty acids. But so what they're basically saying there is that mental health conditions have now been physically proven
mm,
uh, to be neuroinflammation. So that is inflammation of the brain, and that this neuroinflammation is directly triggered by gut issues, early life adversity, sleep deprivation, obesity, and this herpes virus viral infections. Now we can't really do anything about the viral infections part,
yeah,
but obesity, sleep disruption, early life adversity, and gut issues are
mm,
all things that we are in control of when it comes to ourselves or our children. Right?
yeah,
Gut issues is entirely triggered by eating processed foods, overuse of antibiotics, which
mm,
kill your gut ecosystem. um yeah, what we are, I mean, we are seeing children drinking tea and coffee. Caffeine is not allowed for children, but we're seeing
yeah,
that they're drinking energy drinks. Oh my gosh, the number of kids drinking energy drinks which are like purely caffeine and sugar. um so gut issues, and the other thing I'm seeing is lack of sleep. Children in
mm,
Sri Lanka just don't sleep, and parents don't seem to have an awareness that children need about 12 hours of sleep, regardless of age.
yeah,
And what's very odd is that the amount of sleep required actually goes up when they become teenagers,
mm,
right? So teenagers require about the same amount of sleep as a 2-year-old, because that is the time when your brain is expanding rapidly and you need a lot of shutdown time, right? But
mm,
what we're seeing in reality is teenagers are getting less and less sleep because sports, gaming, social life. Oh, and then we have this idea that, oh, they're almost an adult
mm,
now, so they can stay up later.
yeah,
But in fact, they need a lot of sleep. Now, I have, out of my 3 children, I have a almost 16-year-old and a 12-year-old. They both go to bed at 8:30. They're not allowed to stay up later than 8:30, and they wake up around 7:30. So even even though I'm very conscious about it, even I'm unable to provide them with 12 hours.
mm,
But 11 hours is pretty close. But
sleep,
I'm
yeah,
seeing, 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, 5-year-olds staying up till 1, 2 in the morning.
mm,
And it's damaging their brain development, right? And when you do that, how can we expect them to be physically and mentally well into adulthood?
yeah. Even in a recent study, it links to Alzheimer's in the future, and yeah, sleep is very important. And even adults, people who doesn't sleep and overwork, they go to burnout. They have issues like sleep is a very important thing in mental health. Very interesting, and please send me the link of the study you have showed. I can
I
share
will.
it on the,
I will.
yeah,
Yeah, I will
um,
do that because I'm actually going to do a video about it. That's why I had the screenshot on my phone. But
that's
that
amazing.
that's the first time that we have discovered that physical link to brain
Mm.
inflammation. That's very interesting area.
So, can you tell me a little bit about what inspired you to start a school and what made you go through with it, and what are the things you have seen that uh, the problems in the usual like uh, normal school system, and what are the changes you are hoping to change with your school?
I think that's far too big. We'll be here for about a week if we really start getting into that topic. But
Okay,
I think for me, trying to
but
try to make it smaller, try to
yeah,
bring
yeah.
it all.
Where did it start, or what made you inspired? We start with there. Like, where was the spark or the
So when
what?
I was very young, I had this idea that when I was very young, I had this idea that when I was very old, I would set up a boarding school in Sri Lanka,
Mm,
right? I really wanted to have a residential school. And I used to dream about, oh, it would be based in Sigiriya, and it would be this place that the kind of kids from all over the country can come, and we will teach them kind of very holistic things and all of that. Like, I had this great dream, but it was very much, the dream was that it would be towards the end of my life,
mm,
once I have done everything else and I had, like, my children have all grown up and I had nothing better to do with my life, so then I would do it. And that I used to plan for it. um but actually, and that idea that I had it long before I had children even. But I think this school that I started coming up to, yeah, it's 2.5 years now, almost 3 years of work on it. that came from a very different place, because watching my children grow up, and I am very committed to, this is by no means saying that I've got it right. I want to
Mm.
be very clear on that, right?
Yeah.
It's not, I don't think it's possible for anyone to get it
Mm.
right, to be 100% right, right? My thing isn't that I have solutions, but I am very focused on always asking questions, right? um because I find that a lot of things in life, people don't ask questions.
Mm.
So people, you go through life. Okay, you're a small child, then you go to school. Why? No one asks. You just do
Yeah.
because everyone
Do.
does it, right? So you just do.
Yeah.
And you come through all of that, and then you get a job. Again, why? No one
Mm.
really knows, right?
Mm.
And then the same thing with relationships. And then you ask parents, well, why did you decide to have children? Because everyone else does. Or the
They'll
mother-in-law
do
said,
that.
like, you've been married for like how long now get on. So this this idea for me of always asking why, like, now my son is almost, he's about to turn 4, and he has hair. I think now his hair is longer than my hair. There is so many people questioning, like, oh, cut his hair,
Mm-hmm.
comments, right? um but why? Right? But why? Okay,
Yeah.
fine, I'm not saying cutting is good or bad, or long is good or bad. I'm not saying any of that.
Mm.
But why? Why is it automatic, right?
Mm.
And I'm always very uncomfortable with this sense of like automatic.
Mm.
Because now my son has long hair. Another parent may choose to cut their child's hair, and that is okay, as long as everybody has asked why and they know why they're doing it,
Mm.
right? Because we are all very diverse people. We have different ways of thinking. We have different preferences, likes, dislikes. So we are, humans are beautiful because we are diverse, right?
Yeah.
So it's not about arriving at the same thought
Mm.
process or the same result, right?
Mm.
But ask why. And most people don't actually have an answer. Now, one of my favorite things, like particularly when I'm doing a coaching session or a corporate session particularly,
Mm.
one of my favorite questions to ask the audience is, why are the men in Sri Lanka wearing socks and shoes? Why? No one knows.
No, no.
They just
Yeah.
are, right? And it's because from childhood in school, you're forced into these horrible socks and shoes,
Mm.
boiling your feet. It's unhealthy. You're talking about, great risk of funguses and all kinds of foot
Mm.
issues. You are looking at your
Mm.
skeletal developmental issues. You're looking at all of that. These men are suffering through this heat in their socks and shoes, but why? No one knows, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we know it's a colonial hangover, and
Mm.
white people told us that if you don't wear socks and shoes, you're not professional.
Yeah.
That's why. But we have to ask, right?
Mm.
And so for me, this, because I ask too many questions, and I know other people find it very irritating
Mm.
about me. Hey, what to do? That's how my brain.
Yeah.
Um, so the school also kind of came from that kind of space
Mm.
where watching my children grow up and constantly asking, well, why should they? Why shouldn't they? It all kind of came together. I mean, I was also, homeschooled, and I homeschooled my kids. So a lot of people in Sri Lanka knew me already within that
Mm.
space. So education is something I've been in. I've been teaching since I was 14. Um,
Mm.
but I'm very passionate about, because when you have a child, when you decide to have a child and they're born,
Mm.
it's this enormous responsibility to, for me, I think, to ask why, and to always seek to do the best or the healthiest thing. And when you look at the school space, what it does is actively stripping away childhood, mental health,
Mm.
physical health, good development of the child away from them.
Mm.
Just, and taking a part of our population which doesn't have as many rights or voice as we do, it feels very wrong. to do that to somebody, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there is a famous quote somewhere which says that children in school have less rights than a person in prison,
Mm.
right? Because a child in a normal school can't even go to the toilet without asking for permission,
Yeah.
right? I mean, those are drink water without asking permission or getting in trouble, right?
Mm.
But these are basic human needs, and we have stripped
Mm.
our children of that. And I find it bewildering
Mm.
that we've normalized it. We've absolutely normalized what is technically kind of child abuse, but it's the stripping away of a
Mm.
child's right to grow up happy, healthy, safe.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so for me, all of those things collide, and I wanted to make sure that there was a space in Sri Lanka where every decision about education, every decision about the school is made based on science, not, oh, but this is how it was done,
Yeah.
right? So we focus a lot on what the AI experts are saying in terms of what do children need to learn and how do they need to be developed for future careers. We also focus a lot on child psychology and what is best for their mental and physical health. Even the school start and finish times are much more
Mm.
healthy because it's 9 to 3, so they can sleep till 7 in the morning. They can
Mm.
have a breakfast at 8 and come to school, and then have lunch at 12, go home and eat dinner. So everything in school is designed entirely and only based on scientific data or research or
Mm.
understanding. And I think I'm like, it's something, not to say that the way we do it is the only way or the right way, but I think that thing about always questioning why are we doing this and are we doing the right thing, and always referring back to actual science,
Mm.
not, but for generations we have done it this way. So
Yeah.
that's why that's the kind of rambly but shorter form of why the school is there.
That's amazing. I really love that you had this intentional life that you ask questions and why. I think Simon Sinek had this video about like why question is very important. And yeah, like you said, most people are in autopilot mode. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know why they're doing things. So if someone said, okay, do this, they will do it. They don't have an intentional life. Like these are things what makes me happy or what makes me who I am. So I'm really like my mind was firing like when you're talking about these things. Like yeah, I also wanted. I had this question also. Like even in my school, I was like asking questions. Why this happened? Like why should I need to do this? So what's the reason? So I think that's why we both are coaches because we ask a lot of questions and asking question is very important. It's the only way to find someone's true nature or understand them. And I think one of the things I think this happened to you in a like you said about someday you will do it, like when you're old, but somehow it happened earlier. I think that's something that people go through as well. Someday I will do it when everything is okay. But actually, like sometimes we have everything. So it's better to start now. I think you did a great job of
Thank
starting 2 years ago, I think 3 years ago. So I think there are a lot of potential and like you said, more intentional life. I think the children who come to your school and who go through with it will have a better life than the people who go through life without intentions. That's something in me that I ask myself as well. Like, why am I doing this? What is in it for me or what's the purpose? So it's really amazing to hear your story about what made you start the school and asking questions. I think that's a really important thing that we overlook. And like you said, our personality develops when our personality develops, sometimes people compare themselves as well. So when we don't have a strong identity, like you said, our parents or friends might like compare, okay, this person has a done this or something like that. Sometimes that becomes a internal comparison, like, am I good enough? So when you know that what are the things that make you fulfill and what makes you happy, I think that will the comparison will go away. Like you are
yeah.
okay with yourself. So that's really amazing. So may I ask, like, what are your future plans or future goals to with your school or with your life, with education?
Um, School, I think now 2.5 years in, it's pretty stable. We have a good rhythm of how we function. It We have come to understand um exactly how we can deliver what we need to deliver to the kids, and that's taken time, because when you remove a lot of the things that are familiar,
Mm,
it leaves this vacuum or this space, right? And so for the last 1.5 years, we've developed quite a lot of things. We have our own structures now and how we function, and it's really nice to see. And we have some children with us who've been there from day one,
mm,
and to see them grow up, and also to see the result of what we've done, right? I'm seeing children with much more of an identity, and a sense of this is me,
mm,
than compared to mainstream kids. um, I think particularly in Sri Lanka, there's this real thing about school loyalty, right? Like,
mm,
school becomes your identity here. And you sing your school song and you wear the colors, and it's a whole game.
mm,
And we don't have a school song or a school colors or school uniform, or because we want to make sure that each student is the one that shines,
mm,
not the school, right? It's not about, because the this is now deviating from what you asked, but
yeah,
uh, it's not it's not healthy when the school is kind of desperate for recognition,
mm,
uh, or to kind of be like, oh, this is us, and
mm,
this is the, no,
mhm,
because your actual job isn't to glorify the school. Your actual job is to deliver learning and development to young children. And then within that process, the entity that needs to shine, to thrive, to grow, to be celebrated is each child, not the school.
yeah,
So, but I see it being the other way around, right? Schools
mm,
want to kind of bring that glory onto
mm,
themselves. um so yeah, so anyway, future plans, yeah, the school will continue as it is. It's We'd love to be able to open some more branches, because there's a huge demand from other areas of Sri Lanka, other than Colombo. So that's something we really need to kind of look at in the next couple of years. But it's been very difficult for me, because when we started this process, my son was only one. So managing everything
yeah,
was always very tricky. But now I think things are like very settled. My son actually started main school today.
ah,
He moved
yeah,
from the sort of play school that we have to the
mm,
main school today. This morning he's gone without me. So like, he's settled. In terms of me, the big dream is the thing that I have not achieved in my life. There are two things that I've been passionate about.
mm,
Well, actually, that's a complete lie. There's so many things, but there are so many things.
yeah,
But two big things
mm,
that I have not been able to get to so
mm,
far is my original dream when I was a child, which was to become a film director.
mm,
Um, I really, really, really wanted to go to New York Film School. That was the dream. Didn't happen. So I'm looking at studying filmmaking, and also starting work on my film. I've written the film. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. So I've given myself the deadline of before 50. So I have about
okay,
8.5 years to get there.
mm,
And the other thing is stand-up comedy.
mm,
It's something that I've always really like loved and
mm,
been interested in. I don't know whether I have any talent or skill or any kind of anything to say on stage, but it's not about
mm,
becoming having a Netflix special. It's I want to
yeah,
get up there and see what happens, right? So yeah, so those are the things I think that at the moment come to mind.
Mm.
uh, but I'm always learning, and I'm always exploring and wanting to widen my horizons, and I don't know what I will pick up next.
Yeah, that's amazing and inspiring as well. Like you have a lot of dreams for yourself and for the school as well. You want to maintain it and expand it. And something that I pick up was identity. You said people have identity and who they are. And sometimes I feel what I have seen is some people doesn't have a clear identity. So they
Yep.
might buy things, they might do things for validation. So whatever they buy or whatever they do, they never feel like they're enough or they are fulfilled or their identity is fulfilled. So, and I think individuality is a very important thing in life rather than locking it to your school or what do you do or what's your profession or what education background. Who you are is very important. So I think you shared a lot of good insights on the school as well. Like there in Sri Lanka, there are a lot of things as well. Like when there is a pride in it, but at the same time, you need to have pride in yourself apart from the school because school
100%.
doesn't like will take care of you, but you have to take care of yourself, your identity. You need to build up yourself. So I think focusing on yourself and the change within is important. Yeah.
It's yeah, and actually, right now I'm writing a speech. I'm giving a keynote address at Colombo University this coming weekend,
Okay.
and they asked me to write about setting boundaries.
Mm.
And I started writing this thing, and as usual, it went off on a tangent. I haven't finished writing it yet. I need to sit down this week and do it. But the thing that came up for me within that is what you talked about is we as when you're a child, given a bunch of labels, son, daughter, grandchild, student, student of a particular school. Then you have your ethnic or religious background, you have
Mm.
your uh, where you grew up, the town or the village you come from. So all of these things are kind of given to you as like, "Oh, this is it." I
Mm.
speak to a lot of young people and they say, "Oh, somebody from my background can't do this." So these are
Mm.
labels that are put on people, and very rarely do we see children being allowed to explore who they are, not as a son and daughter, not as a grandchild, not as a student of a school, not as anything, but who are you, right?
Mm.
What do you believe in? What is your point of being on this earth, right? And the reason this came up for me now is because so I'm writing this speech about setting boundaries. How can and we all now because of social media we have all become pop psychologists. We are diagnosing people with narcissism left and
Mm.
right, whether it's true or not. And we are sharing these quotes and whatever
Mm.
memes and whatnot, right? But within all of that, this setting boundaries, I'm going to be firm, I'm going to self-care and all of that, right? But you can't set boundaries if you don't know who you are.
Mm.
What boundary, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't if you don't know, right? And I love what you just said about seeking validation. When you when you don't know who you are, when you don't have an identity or a strong sense of identity, and as you rightly pointed out, your identity is reliant on wearing the next designer brand or the car you drive or the fridge you have, the job you have, the school you went to, whatever those things, right? All that thing, they are all external validation, right? So you are seeking to put on something that makes other people look at you and say,
Mm.
that is a valuable person. But you need internal validation, you need
Mm.
internal identity, right? I know who I am, because
Mm.
it doesn't matter then whether people know you, people don't know you, whether you are in a place you are completely un no, misunderstood, whatever, it doesn't matter because that never changes then,
Mm.
right? And that is missing from so many people. And we can't do, we've talked about mental health today, we can't have good mental health till we know who we are.
Yeah.
And that's the whole process that we really, really need to, again, back to young people, right? um, we have to bring up our children to understand that process, to embrace that process, to know the value of that process. But yeah, we have a long way to go.
Yeah. And yeah, I think boundaries are very important. Like you said, like your identity, if you don't know, if you don't have a clear identity who you are, you might never know what are the boundaries you have because you don't know what you want and what are the things you like. So it's amazing. And I think for empaths, boundaries are very important because in I think in school and in younger days, we are supposed to we were taught that you have to help others. So if you don't have boundaries, people will like help others and like help others and they do a lot for others. But end of their life or throughout their life, they feel ungrateful or they feel not enough because they help others and they don't have boundaries. They don't know how to say no. And yeah.
Yeah, I know where you're going, but I also want to add something there because
Mm,
I'm an empath, and I have been criticized my whole life for doing too much for others, right? And now with my public profile, social media, the number of people who seek help from me is huge,
mm,
right? Whether it's people going through a personal issue, I have supported women in abusive situations to get out. So I've offered practical help to help them get out. Um, lot of different types of people,
mm,
right? And I keep getting told that, oh, just stop it, like it's just stop it, it's too much, right? um and that's somebody else's boundary,
mm, yeah.
right? But for me, yes, it's time consuming, energy consuming. Sometimes I get very upset
Mm,
within my day because I know somebody's going through something, and sometimes, a lot of the times, these are not even people I have ever met, but they
yeah.
are on my mind.
Mm,
But this is where identity matters. Because I know who I am,
mm,
I choose that for my
mm,
life. I want it,
yeah.
right? Because yes, it's tiring, it's time consuming, it's all of those things, but
Mm,
that is, I have chosen for it to be
mm,
part of my life. So when I die, I don't need anyone to be thankful for what I've done or celebrate me, or I don't need that, because the
mm,
fact I did it is all I need, right?
yeah.
But and that, so this is where that identity thing comes in, because that boundary that other people keep trying to get me to have, I
Mm,
don't want it, I reject it because it's not the right one for me.
mm,
But it might be the right one for many other people. And
yeah.
the one that I have, where I just accept everybody and I try and help everybody, that might not be healthy for other people,
Mm,
right? So that is a really good example for me of where I have chosen this, even though it can be overwhelming and all of those things. I have chosen it, right?
mm,
So with that, but I don't feel swamped by it because I chose it.
mm, yeah.
Even if it's a difficult thing, if you have chosen it,
Mm,
then it brings you peace.
yeah. I think you have taken accountability to it. Like you have chosen this is who you are, and I think you have a great capacity to take all in, and you have a compassion.
I don't have capacity, but that's okay.
But I think you have compassion more than capacity. Like you want to help others, so
Yeah.
you are okay with discomfort and anything that comes with it. I think most people don't have that. That's why I mentioned about boundaries, as in like there are people who will help and expect them to be praised, or they expect them to be like like help in return. But like you said, having true empathy, having true compassion is doing the max out, like the doing whatever you can to help someone else without expecting. I think that's really important. And like I mentioned, boundaries are for yourself to protect yourself. But yeah, it's depend on everyone capacity and everyone's need and everyone how they were brought up. Like I said, sometimes we were never told to say no or can't do. We were supposed to help others all the time. So self-care is gone because we were supposed to say like help others, help everyone, you know. So it's important to have that balance. And one thing you mentioned was something about limiting beliefs, like the identity we create in ourselves, that the education or the things we have or the profession. I think when we have a limiting beliefs in the childhood, even when they grow up, I think you mentioned about something that what they want to do or what they can't do, something like that. So I want to share a story about the elephant story. I think you may have heard about it. Like when a ch child elephant was like uh, connected to a tree, they even the elephant grown up when he is very like built up, even the elephant is tied to a chair. Elephant's mindset, they think
Yeah.
they can't go out of
Yeah.
it. Like that's something that came to my mind when you share about like who they are as a person and what they can do or can't they do. Our identity and what we think about ourselves is very important. So when we have limiting beliefs, we think, "Ah, I can't do it, or I may not be able to." Those are the limiting beliefs we have. So I think it's important to build that confidence and self-acceptance in the childhood so that they become a better person.
and and so I am somebody with I have vertigo and fear of heights. I get very dizzy, and I actually recently had a panic attack because I climbed Sigiri and I ended up having a panic attack. It's very serious for me, and I'm also not very comfortable with public speaking or anything where this is going to, like, nobody really believes me anymore when I say these things because of my public profile. But I am not very comfortable in any spaces where the spotlight is on me. Um, and something that I have learned, less of work experience but personal experience, is that a lot of the time our emphasis is on getting over those fears, or getting over that discomfort, or your inability to do something. But actually what I found in my life was a great shortcut. It's you do it even though you are afraid,
Mm,
right? Because I don't, personally, I mean, I don't know how it works for other people, but personally I don't have time in my life to resolve all my fears and then
mm.
to do the things that I want to do, right? By the time I've resolved it, I'll be dead.
Yeah,
All the opportunities have gone,
go
right?
on. Yeah.
So for me, how I do it is I'm terrified pretty much all the time. But you do it anyway. You
Mm,
have all these voices absolutely
mm,
screaming in your head, oh, you can't, and you're gonna die, and
mm.
you go on stage and your clothes will fall off, or whatever the nonsense that
Yeah.
your fear part of your
Mm,
brain is screaming at
mm,
you. And you just say yes, yes, okay, you continue screaming, it's okay, you
mm.
carry on, I'll carry on also, right?
Yeah.
And this also comes to parenting, because a lot of people ask me, like, they see my kids are doing, my kids go on buses and by themselves, and they are like,
Mm,
they go recently. Now my kids have grown up, so that now they recently went to party by themselves and
mm,
all of that. People always say me like, oh, aren't you afraid of what will happen to them? Something can happen to them. And what I say is, yes, I am. Of course, I'm a human being. I'm a parent.
mm,
Obviously, you're terrified of what's going to happen, right? But your fear, whether it's to climb Sigiriya, whether it's
mm,
to go on stage, whether it's to let your kids go out and do something a bit risky, should not stop you or your children doing things.
mm.
We can't just stay inside the house for the rest of our lives, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so you have to kind of figure out how to live with fear,
Mm,
rather than kind of wait to get over it, or wait till we feel safe or whatever, because that's never actually going to happen in reality.
yeah, that's true. I think most people are uh, waiting to feel ready and waiting to everything to be aligned to their comfort. But like you said,
It will
having
happen.
having a clear identity and having a clear goal will always overcome fear. Even for me, I was an introvert my whole life and I never wanted to speak or anything, but I had this passion of sharing insight and sharing knowledge and talk about mental health and everything. So I push myself to go through with it. I'm every day I'm uncomfortable, I'm scared, but like you said, I have fears and voices. Yeah, but my purpose and yeah, it's I think there's no one have that clear thing you can do everything without fear. I think most people are pushing through fear, and when they have a purpose, when they have a clear purpose, they can go with it. Even the fears, even the limiting beliefs, whatever the things that come externally, you can go through with it if you have a clear purpose. Thank you very much for coming to my podcast and sharing knowledge. I really have a great, I had a great time talking to you. I want to invite you again in another podcast with another topic. If there's any advice or anything to give away to the audience, what would it be?
Find out who you are and be that person. Hold on to that. Because no 8 billion plus people on this planet, this specific cocktail of things is only you.
Mhm.
Only you. There is not another person that is you on this planet, which means you have everything you need already to be a success, right? You don't have to be somebody else, you don't have to put on all these things. Just find out who you are. What is this cocktail of strengths, weaknesses, experiences, challenges, whatever perspectives, everything, the way you think, that is your strength. Even if you want to become an entrepreneur, if you want to be successful, whatever, it all starts with that,
Mhm.
right? Your unique perspective in this world of 8 billion people. Once you tap into that, once you know who that is, the rest kind of falls into place. And don't let anything hold you back, not even yourself. It's always
Yes.
ourselves that's holding us back.
Yeah. So thank you very much.
Say, like what you said was very beautiful, that you're also afraid and everything. But imagine you had let your fear dictate what you do. All this amazing work that you're doing, you wouldn't have done, right?
Yeah.
You'd just be still sitting at home thinking, oh, one day I hope, and nothing would have happened, right? But you've pushed through and said, okay, I can be afraid, but I can also do at the same time. Amazing. I love what you've done.
Thank you so much. And I have seen so many conversations like that. Someday I wanted to be like that. Someday I could have been like that. So from a young age, I have heard those kind of stories for a long time that made me feel, okay, I don't want to be like that, or I don't want to have that regret in my life. It's better to fail than not trying.
Correct.
So yeah, I took a risk and I'm really happy and I'm really happy that I had this conversation with you. I got a lot of insight and knowledge and I'm
Mm.
sure like our audience will be inspired. Thank you so much for your time. Have a great day and I wish you good luck in everything that you do. Hope to
Same to
see
you.
you again.
Same to you. Take care.